He walked into the courtroom with a quiet cross pinned to his jacket. He walked out a national headline. What started as a simple courtroom observation turned into a constitutional crisis, one that put former President Bill Clinton face to face with a young legal mind no one saw coming. This isn't just about a symbol. It's about power, law, and what happens when the smallest voice refuses to back down. Washington, D.C.'s Jefferson Courthouse buzzed with its usual morning chaos, papers rustling, security buzzers screeching, lawyers with too many files and not enough patience. And in the middle of it all, Alex Mercer, age 17, sat quietly in the back row. He wore a plain suit, a pressed white shirt, and on his lapel, a silver cross, small, simple, and deliberate. He wasn't here to argue a case. Not yet. He was here to watch Bill Clinton, the guest speaker for that morning's Judicial Integrity Forum, a public event meant to inspire local students interested in law. Alex wasn't just interested. He was obsessed. He'd grown up in a small town in Tennessee where faith and law were often at odds. His own mother had once been reprimanded by a school board for praying over her lunch as a cafeteria worker. That memory stayed with him, pushing him to study legal precedent, constitutional rulings, religious rights. Now he was about to watch the man who signed the Religious Freedom Restoration Act in 1993 speak from a courthouse podium. Former President Bill Clinton entered to applause, a familiar half-smile on his face. His silver hair, now fully white, reflected the harsh lights. He shook hands, greeted judges and interns alike, and adjusted the mic at the lectern. "I've always believed the law is more than a set of rules," he began, his southern drawl gentle but commanding. "It's a promise that every voice matters, no matter how small." Alex's eyes didn't blink, but someone else was watching him. Judge Malcolm Varelli, 61, a man known for his no symbols, no slogans courtroom policy, had spotted the silver cross. His expression tightened, eyes narrowing like a hawk spotting prey. As Clinton continued his speech, Varelli scribbled something on a notepad, then leaned over and whispered to a nearby bailiff. 10 minutes later, as Clinton spoke about faith and democracy, the bailiff approached Alex and whispered, "Judge's orders. Remove the cross or exit the courtroom." Alex turned, stunned. "It's a personal item," he said quietly, "protected by the First Amendment." The bailiff shrugged. "Orders are orders." Clinton paused on stage, glancing toward the commotion. "Everything all right back there?" he asked, eyes landing on the boy. Varelli stood abruptly. "Mr. President, I'll handle this." Alex stood, face flushed but calm. "I'm not disrupting anything," he said, voice louder now. "I'm sitting quietly. This cross isn't a statement, it's a part of who I am." Clinton raised an eyebrow, curious. "Young man," Varelli snapped, "you've been warned. Remove it now or face a contempt citation." Alex didn't move. Clinton leaned into the mic. "Judge Varelli, may I ask, what rule exactly is being enforced here?" The room froze. The cameras were rolling. The live stream was active. Varelli swallowed. "This is my courtroom, Mr. President. Symbols of religion undermine neutrality." Clinton stepped down from the podium slowly, his voice still even. That boy didn't bring a slogan or a sign. He brought his identity. Are we really prepared to punish someone for wearing what they believe? Alex looked at Clinton, then at the judge. He didn't say another word. He didn't have to. The tension was thick. Someone in the press gallery started typing furiously. What had begun as a harmless forum was now something else entirely. A showdown between a sitting judge, a former president, and a teenager who refused to compromise his faith. And outside the courthouse, thousands were already watching. By the time Alex stepped out of the Jefferson Courthouse, his name was already trending. Hashtag cross in court. Hashtag the boy and the judge. Hashtag Clinton intervenes. Someone had clipped the moment, the teenager refusing to remove his silver cross, Judge Varelli's heated command, and Bill Clinton's calm interruption. It was less than a minute long, but it was everywhere. Across social media, the comments exploded. He stood his ground. That's courage. Why is a religious symbol being treated like a weapon? Clinton handled that better than half of Congress. Back inside the courthouse, Clinton had asked Alex to stay behind. His aides gently cleared the crowd, while the former president invited the boy into a side chamber off the main hall, normally reserved for press briefings. "Sit down, son," Clinton said, unbuttoning his jacket. "Let's talk." Alex sat stiffly. His cross still gleamed under the fluorescent lights. "You handled yourself well in there," Clinton said. "Respectful. Clear. That's rare." "I didn't mean to cause trouble," Alex replied. "I just wanted to hear your speech." Clinton studied him. "You've read the First Amendment?" "More than once," Alex answered. "And the court precedent, too. West Virginia versus Barnett, Tinker versus Des Moines, even the Lukumi case. Wearing a cross doesn't disrupt court. It's protected speech." Clinton chuckled softly, impressed. "You're quoting Justice Jackson like it's a lunch menu." Alex hesitated, then asked, "Was I wrong?" Clinton leaned forward. "No, but you're in a system that often mistakes silence for order and expression for rebellion. The judge didn't see a cross, he saw a challenge." Alex nodded slowly. Clinton continued. "What he didn't count on was how fast a moment like this travels in 2025, especially when the moment is recorded." He handed Alex a tablet. On the screen was a breaking news alert. "DC teen sparks legal firestorm after judge targets cross." "What happens now?" Alex asked. "That depends," Clinton said, "on whether you're willing to take this further." Alex raised an eyebrow. "You mean sue?" "I mean speak," Clinton said. "Let people hear your side. We can arrange a statement. A calm, thoughtful one. I can't represent you, but I can make sure the right people listen." Alex swallowed. "They'll come after me." "They'll come after your ideas," Clinton corrected. "You just need to make sure they're ready." Hours later, Alex sat in front of a single camera in a quiet office, a white background behind him, a microphone clipped to his blazer. Clinton's media team had agreed. No scripts, no edits, just truth. "My name is Alex Mercer," he began. "I'm 17. Today, I wore a cross to a courthouse and was told it violated neutrality. But the law says otherwise. My faith isn't an attack. It's part of who I am." The video went live at 7:14 p.m. By midnight, it had over 5 million views. That same night, Judge Varela issued a statement defending his courtroom policy, calling it a necessary safeguard against bias and distraction. But the damage was done. The American Civil Liberties Union, the Alliance Defending Freedom, and a half-dozen legal analysts weighed in within hours. Some defended the judge. Others condemned him. One former Supreme Court clerk tweeted, "If a teenager citing Barnett and Lukumi has to teach a federal judge how the Constitution works, we have a bigger problem." But the biggest shock came the next morning. A leaked internal memo showed that Judge Varela had fined at least 23 individuals in the past year for visible religious symbols, but let dozens of others off the hook for political shirts, oversized jewelry, or even loud religious tattoos. The memo landed on Bill Clinton's desk by noon. He didn't hesitate. He picked up the phone and said 6 words. "Get me the Department of Justice." 3 days after the courtroom standoff, Alex Mercer stood beneath the high ceilings of the Department of Justice building. His palms were clammy, his suit borrowed, and the silver cross on his lapel seemed to weigh more than it had ever before. He wasn't just a high school senior anymore. He was a key witness in a formal federal investigation. The Justice Department's Office for Judicial Conduct had launched a preliminary ethics review into Judge Malcolm Varela, citing possible violations of religious freedom under the First Amendment. They had subpoenaed internal records, gathered witness testimony, and now they wanted to hear from the teenage boy who had defied the gavel. Alex's mother sat outside the hearing room, clutching a tissue and mouthing silent prayers. Inside, a panel of 6 attorneys and ethics officers waited behind a long mahogany table. At the far end of the room, in an observer's seat, Bill Clinton sat quietly, hands folded, eyes steady. He wasn't part of the panel, but his presence, his very name, had changed the weight of the room. Alex adjusted his notes and spoke. "I didn't speak out to make headlines," he began. "I wasn't trying to challenge authority. I just wanted to sit quietly, listen to a speech, and wear the symbol of my faith without fear." He paused, letting the silence settle. "But when Judge Varela called me out, it wasn't because I was being disruptive. It was because I was visible. The panelists leaned in. Alex continued, "There's a difference between enforcing order and enforcing silence. One protects the court, the other crushes people in it." He then handed over screenshots of Varelli's past rulings, sourced by volunteer lawyers who had found a pattern. 23 fines for religious symbols, 0 for any secular expression, including political buttons, protest t-shirts, and even a jacket with the phrase "God is dead" in block letters. This wasn't about neutrality, Alex said. It was about control. The lead ethics officer, a tall woman with silver-rimmed glasses, folded her hands. "Mr. Mercer, are you prepared for this to go further? Possibly to federal court?" Alex looked to Clinton, who gave a subtle nod. "I didn't ask for any of this," Alex said softly. "But now that it's started, I can't walk away." Meanwhile, Judge Varelli sat in his private chambers, the blinds drawn, the once orderly office in quiet chaos. Stacks of newspapers with his name on the front page. Anonymous letters, some threatening, others praising, scattered across his desk. His longtime clerk, Janice, entered without knocking. "You need to see this." She handed him a document. A formal notice. Suspension with pay pending review. Varelli's fingers trembled. "He's just a kid," he muttered. "No," Janice replied. "He's the reason everyone else finally spoke up." That afternoon, the DOJ issued a public statement. In light of credible reports of selective enforcement of courtroom policies, an independent judicial panel will be appointed to determine whether Judge Varelli violated the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment. And with that, the story exploded again. Fox News ran a headline, "Teen confronts biased judge and wins." The Washington Post wrote, "Is religious expression on trial in America?" But the most viral moment came from a short clip of Clinton exiting the DOJ building, a journalist shouting after him, "Mr. President, why support a teenager in a legal fight?" Clinton turned, offered a tired smile, and said, "Because I remember when I was that age, wanting to ask the hard questions, but being told to sit down. He didn't. That matters." By the end of the week, Alex Mercer was no longer just a teenager in a borrowed suit. He had become a headline, a symbol, a spark that lit a fire across the country. Churches in Georgia held prayer vigils in his name. Law students in New York debated his case in classrooms. Civil liberties groups on both ends of the political spectrum issued statements, some calling him a patriot, others warning about the dangers of personal faith weaponized in court. And in the middle of it all stood Bill Clinton. What started as a moment of quiet support became a lightning rod for controversy. Cable news panels exploded. Clinton is meddling in judicial affairs. Is this a political stunt or a moral stand? Should a cross define a constitutional crisis? Former allies of Clinton distanced themselves. Editorials accused him of reigniting culture wars. Even a few Democratic senators released statements calling for respecting the separation of church and state, even in matters of personal belief. But Clinton didn't flinch. He gave no further interviews, no apologies. Instead, he worked behind the scenes, reaching out to legal scholars, constitutional experts, and civil rights attorneys, quietly coordinating support for a public hearing that would decide whether Judge Varelli's courtroom policy violated constitutional protections. The date was set, May 14th. A formal federal hearing. Alex was invited to testify again, this time under oath, in front of a national audience. In the days leading up to the hearing, support poured in. Clinton's foundation arranged private security for Alex and his family after anonymous threats began arriving. But for every message of hate, there were hundreds of encouragement. "I wore my cross to court today because of you. My daughter saw your video. She asked if she can stand up for herself too. Thank you for showing us faith doesn't have to be silent." Clinton met with Alex one last time before the hearing. "You sure you're ready?" he asked. Alex hesitated, then nodded. "I think this stopped being about me a long time ago." Clinton smiled faintly. "It did, and that's exactly why it matters now." The morning of the hearing, cameras lined the courthouse steps. Protesters held signs. "Faith is not a disruption. Protect the court, respect the cross." Judges don't own the Constitution. Alex walked through the crowd with quiet determination, his mother at his side. Clinton stayed back, watching from a distance, letting the moment belong to the boy who had started it. Inside, the federal ethics panel took their seats. Judge Varelli sat at the defense table, pale and tight-jawed. A full broadcast crew streamed the proceedings live. And then, Alex Mercer took the stand. His voice was calm, steady. "I didn't come here to win," he said. "I came here because I believe freedom of belief isn't just written in law books. It lives in how we treat each other." That day in court, my cross didn't make noise. It didn't speak. But the people who saw it heard something anyway. He paused, his silver cross visible under the bright lights. I didn't ask to be noticed. But once I knew I couldn't stay silent. The federal hearing room fell into silence as the lead ethics officer adjusted her glasses and looked out over the crowd. "We have reached a decision." Every camera turned, every breath held. The panel finds that Judge Malcolm Varelli engaged in selective enforcement of courtroom decorum, resulting in unconstitutional discrimination based on religious expression. Effective immediately, Judge Varelli is hereby suspended without pay, and a formal recommendation will be made for judicial review and disciplinary action. Gasps swept through the room. Judge Varelli closed his eyes. His hands trembled slightly. The gavel that once commanded silence had now sentenced his own authority into question. Alex Mercer sat still. No cheers, no smiles, just quiet relief. He hadn't come to destroy a man. He'd come to defend a principle. But outside the courthouse, the country wasn't quiet. Within hours, the news broke across every outlet. Judge found guilty of religious bias. Teen wins landmark hearing. On X, the hashtag Alex Mercer trended worldwide. One clip of him simply nodding as the verdict was read had 2.1 million views in a single night. Faith leaders across the nation praised his courage. Even outspoken critics began softening their tone. And in a surprise move, the American Bar Association announced a new recommendation. Visible religious symbols, so long as non-disruptive, must not be grounds for penalty in any U.S. courtroom. The ripple was real. In Tennessee, Alex's hometown church held a service in his honor. In Texas, a Muslim lawyer shared a video of himself entering court with a prayer bead necklace visible, saying, "We wear our beliefs in peace," just like Alex taught us. 2 days after the verdict, Alex received a letter with the White House seal. President Bill Clinton read, "Invitation, National Summit on Religious Liberty and Judicial Ethics. Keynote speaker, Alex Mercer." When Alex showed the letter to his mother, she burst into tears. On May 28th, the summit was held in the White House's East Room. Lawmakers, faith leaders, judges, and students gathered beneath golden chandeliers. Clinton stood beside Alex as he approached the podium. This time, there were no bailiffs watching, no gavels ready to strike, just silence. Respectful, listening silence. Alex took a breath and began. "I was once told to remove my cross because it disrupted neutrality. But today, I wear it here, on the highest stage in our country, not to challenge order, but to remind us of something deeper. That law and liberty are not enemies. That belief, when quiet and personal, is not a threat, it's a right. And that the Constitution doesn't shrink when we express our faith, it stands taller because of it." The room erupted in applause. Clinton clapped first, eyes glinting with pride. A reporter tweeted, "This young man just changed the conversation on courtroom freedom forever." In the weeks that followed, Judge Varelli formally resigned. New federal training was mandated for all court officers on First Amendment protections, and Alex received a full scholarship offer from Yale Law School, along with a handwritten note. "We need voices like yours. Keep speaking." Dean Whitaker. Alex returned home not as a hero, but as someone who had simply refused to be quiet when it mattered most. The silver cross still rested on his lapel. But now, it wasn't just a symbol of faith. It was a symbol of change. If you liked the video, don't forget to subscribe and press the like button.